Good morning, everybody. Thank you for watching Taxes Made Easy. And one of the big things you can do to improve how you handle taxes and how you stay on top of it is to budget. And I know that's kind of a boogeyman word, probably makes a lot of people run for the hills and think, oh my goodness, what is Hubert trying to do to me? Budgeting can help you in so many ways. And essentially, that's what the IRS does with its financial standards: is it forces people to actually look at their spending, reconsider what they're spending money on, and adjust their spending habits to deal with their taxes. Now, the way the IRS goes about it isn't in the most productive way. In some ways, it can be very destructive, but especially if you don't respond timely. But we're going to talk about how you can make that work for you, for your family, and for your business. So stay tuned. This I think is a very important show. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you again for watching live or on rebroadcast. And so we've got a lot of news to cover, and it's going to be a mix here. So we're just going to dive right into it here. And the first one is back up. We're talking again about the housing market. So house prices, and people are waiting for house prices to go down. Interest rates are up, but again, it's unfortunately they're still continuing to go up, and the question is why. I mean, it kind of defies normal expectations. So despite interest rate hikes, the main factor here is inventory is still low, and the interest rate hikes are part of that. So why would people sell a home if they have a good interest rate? And this is the problem because we artificially kept interest rates so low for so long, and it was Republican and Democrat presidencies that did that. They all took advantage of artificially low interest rates that created this housing bubble. Everybody thought, oh, great, housing prices will go up. This will make sense. And now we're in a place where it doesn't make a lot of sense. And it's very costly for people to get into the housing market. So according to February, prices were up 1.6% in the 20 city index, which is really the basis for their claim. And then all major metro markets saw month-over-month price increases. Now we are going into the summer season. This is when more people are looking to purchase a home. Typically, if they're going to move, school is out. But the problem is we just don't have the inventory. Housing is not as available. And I keep hearing stories where they're building whole neighborhoods and they're all rentals because it's so profitable to rent right now. So again, this is one of the problems that's affecting a lot of people. National Home Price Index shows a 6.5 increase from a year ago in March. So again, still prices are still going up. So nationally, median home of a previously owned home was $392,000. Newly built home of $439,000. So and that's across the country. Some of the areas that saw the steepest increases: San Diego, New York, Cleveland, Los Angeles, and more and more people are just being shut out of the market. So biggest problem here is that mortgage rates have soared or have gone up with inflation. Inflation has surged across the board. In the latest numbers, up 3.4%. Our target goal is around 2%. But that's the official rate. The actual inflation rate, I would argue, is much higher than that. So, so the big question is, what is the Fed going to do with its interest rates? Which drives a lot of this, but at the same time, we're not building the way that we should. And that comes down to a lot of political decisions. There's more and more people coming into the country, which adds more pressure on demand. More people need housing. It's just a fact of life. Um, and that puts pressure on the lower income housing. And then that just kind of pushes everybody into more expensive housing and drives the prices and the rentals up across the board. So again, people are staying put. They're not selling their homes, which is driving this. Big concern here is, and I've heard people say they expect the Fed to cut rates several times this year. That's what they talked about. In this show, we've talked about how, unfortunately, they're now starting to change their tune. It's all going to be based on the numbers, what the inflation rate stays at for the next few months or through the year. And they're aware that the government's using different numbers. So I think they're actually looking at more comprehensive numbers, the labor rate, participation rate, and other economic news than just inflation reports from the government, because that's doesn't share the whole story. So not good news here. And this kind of ties right into why do we need a budget? Because things are getting more expensive. This next article I think is interesting, a little different here, and this is also from Breitbart News. And this is more talking about the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Now, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce is an interesting organization in that it's supposed to be specifically there for businesses. Lately, and the Republicans are mad at it because they've been taking positions that aren't exactly pro-business. And so they're scratching their head saying, where are they really coming from? What's going on here? And so the as part of their investigatory function, Congress is investigating the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and saying, what gives here? Why are you taking positions that are more political in nature rather than pro-business? And so the Republicans are trying to find out, where is their money coming from? More than $12 million over the past several years is coming from the Tides Foundation, which doesn't disclose its donors. So when they go through a foundation or something like that, the term is dark money, because nobody knows exactly where the money is coming from and who's actually influencing this organization, the Chamber of Commerce. And so we're seeing this happen in various ways. Some of the concerns is that the Tides Foundation has also been was used to fund a lot of the anti-Semitic college campus protests recently, and so they're under scrutiny as well. So it's interesting that they're funding that, but at the same time funding the Chamber of Commerce. And the question is, who's really behind these decisions? Where is the money coming from? And if it's foreign money being used to influence our Chamber of Commerce, it could be a very bad thing. So again, this is political, but at the same time, I lost my trust in the Chamber of Commerce quite some time ago. But the question is why, and I don't fully understand where they're coming from, especially when they've taken some anti-business positions. So moving on, didn't want to spend a lot of time in that article. We have a New York Times article here. The next two articles take a different approach, but this is something to be aware of. And this goes along when someone comes along and say, hey, you can save all this tax money by using this gimmick. Eventually the IRS will catch on. But you have a whistleblower coming out and saying, look, the government said they're going to go after high income earners. They're going to go after people using this lucrative tax break in Puerto Rico. But it's designed to lure investments into Puerto Rico but they're saying it's being used and abused, and the IRS isn't on top of it. So again, this is a whistleblower claiming the IRS isn't cracking down like they claimed they were doing, and you even have, I believe it's Commissioner Werfel addresses this issue as we go through it as well. So basically, for the past decade, they've been using this tax break sometimes to cut their tax bills to zero. So again, this is the wealthy having control of their money, finding ways to reap huge profits and avoid a lot of taxes. So the main way that they do this is that they go in and they purchase property, they purchase a business, and then they become a resident of Puerto Rico. They move there for a few years and then sell the business. And that's not how it's supposed to work. So the New York Times is right that this is an abused tax shelter or abused tax strategy, but the IRS hasn't been cracking down. They haven't been paying attention to it, but they are increasing scrutiny of it. So if anytime someone has, hey, use this little gimmick, there are ways to do things legally. But if someone tells you something that's too good to be true, scrutinize it. And I tell people sometimes things that people are like, that's too good to be true. It's like, well, look at us, scrutinize us, look at our record, read up on what I'm talking about, and make sure it's accurate. Don't just believe me. So again, the whistleblowers claiming it's been 3 years since the IRS announced its enforcement of going after the wealthy, and just not happening. So again, the article, New York Times, is very sympathetic to the IRS. I am not. Yes, they had budget cuts. Yes, the IRS, many claim, was underfunded. I think they did a better job before than they are doing now in many instances. So this idea that we're just going to go after the rich, again, there's plenty of people that do this that are, are they abusing the system? Yes. Are they looking for ways and being more creative? Absolutely. So, the IRS Commissioner Danny Werfel came out and he responded to part of this, and he says we're still coming out of our period of underinvestment, and it takes time to train people, which is true. And there have only been 24 audits of people taking advantage of this tax break, but they have about 100 people who may have committed tax evasion when they started looking at this. So even though you can claim this, and it sounds like you might feel like you've flown under the radar for years, when you're committing tax evasion, purposely underreporting or misreporting income, it can be a huge problem, and I don't recommend. It's not worth it. So the tax benefit here gets into the tax benefit was to encourage investment in Puerto Rico. Since the 50s, American citizens who moved to Puerto Rico have been exempt from federal taxes on income and capital gains. And the whole idea is to entice investment into the economy. And then they expanded that in 2012 so new residents can avoid all local taxes on their investment income. And you have to apply for it. You have to register for it, but you have to report eligible income. So it went from this is a number of registrants has nearly quadrupled over the past 5 years. And it lists some of the prominent investors here. And they're saying, look, they're taking advantage of this. And I'm actually past the break, but we're going to wrap this up when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. I just want to wrap up this article real quick. It's got some examples of what's going on. And just try to explain it. So you're only supposed to get the tax break while the person lives in Puerto Rico. And so it should be easy. It should be easy for the IRS to go after these people. They'll probably step this up as it's been talked about more. Typical problem or example of this is that an investor buys a stake in a business in 2013, moves to Puerto Rico in 2020, 7 years later, and then 2023 sells his stake in the business for a big profit. From 2013 to 2020, when he wasn't living in Puerto Rico, he's supposed to still pay the full capital gains rate of 23.8%. The remaining 3 years when he was actually, the individual was living in Puerto Rico, that's where they're exempt from federal taxes, but you actually have to be living there. A lot of people are buying, investing in Puerto Rico, moving there towards the end right before they sell to say, oh, look, now I'm in Puerto Rico, but they're getting bad tax advice and it's going to come to hurt them. So moving on from this, I don't want to spend too much time on that. This is pretty much the opposing side from a lot of what I've been sharing. I'm trying to share from both sides. This is from Bloomberg Tax and talking about North Carolina, where one of the states that passed a big tax cut. So reading through this, and again, it's always important to look at both sides of the aisle, both arguments. And how is this actually happening? So this is North Carolina. The writer here, Alexandra Sirota, is railing against these tax cuts, claiming that they're the latest trickle-down economic testing ground. It's the latest testing ground for trickle-down economic policies. So the idea is that you pass tax cuts. They largely benefit the rich, but those are the people creating the jobs, investing, etc. And is this really going to trickle down and help the average person? So the Tax Foundation, Wall Street Journal, and other organization praised what North Carolina did, but here Bloomberg is questioning it. So again, they say the tax cuts, and this is their argument, is mainly enriched shareholders, executives, and the wealthy few. And then they're saying based on a poll, or their new poll shows that most people aren't happy about it. 77% reject tax cuts and also a proposed corporate tax income, or eliminating the corporate tax income for 2030. And if you understand how the corporate tax works, it really is double taxation. So the corporations pay a tax, and then when the individuals receive their income from the corporation, they get taxed again. So there's 2 layers of taxation. But corporations are very powerful engines of economic growth and profit for investors. So it's not just individuals that get this. It's not just the wealthy. A lot of people that 401ks, people that are investing, people that are trying to do the right thing financially for their future. So, and they're saying that a lot of services are underfunded, that they have underfunded public systems like bus transportation, public schools, child care centers, and they just don't have enough job training. So there's a lot of programs. I'm going to read between the lines here. There's a lot of programs that Bloomberg and other individuals would want to see North Carolina expand, but they can't do that and cut taxes. And they want more wealth distribution, so they want a level playing field and do more to create a fairer economy. Problem is, it's nebulous. Who's defining that? So they have the governor, who's a Democrat, supporting some of this, opposing some of this. Um, and they kind of break it down. The question is here. This is what annoys me. They talk a lot about people's opinions when they do a certain poll, which polls can be manipulated any which way they want. But they don't talk about the hard facts. When they cut the taxes, are the receipts going to go up? Because people pretend a lot of times that just because they cut taxes, that there's all this money that was lost. With the Trump tax cuts, receipts went up. The government collected more money than ever before. And that's typical with tax cuts. Now, it's yet to be seen if receipts actually go up. But if they go up and they want more money for a fair economy, but they get more money by cutting taxes, what are they complaining about? To me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I have a hard time understanding that. So I would say let different states experiment. Let's see what happens with their actual receipts. And if the receipts go up by cutting taxes, it's a win-win for everybody. But too often we get this mentality of let's tax the rich, let's tax the rich. And every now and then the rich just stop. They stop investing. They stop putting money into it. They go elsewhere, like Puerto Rico and other places, rather than investing in their local economies. And usually, when you talk about the rich, those are the people not only investing but involved in the community, involved with charitable giving, fundraising, and they typically have more time and money to invest and do good things for the community. So again, there's a lot of good that's done out there by the wealthy, and it's not so one-sided as people think. But when they're squeezed, usually get less charity out there, and less giving for that goes primarily to the poorest. Now, a couple things from IRS.gov. This is something to look at. This is low-income communities bonus credit program. So if you qualify for this is to part of the Inflation Reduction Act. This is about investing in solar wind facilities, so small things. And so this is for environmental justice, solar and wind capacity limitation. So if you are interested in solar and you qualify, look into it. I mean, they're using every woke touch word here, but at the same time, I think home solar for homes is a great idea if it's affordable, and if it makes sense for you and your family. I have solar on my home. I was lucky; the previous owners had already installed it in, and so when we purchased the home, it was already in place. We love it; it's great, and I think in many ways it makes sense to do so. Again, if you're interested, follow this link. We'll be posting it. And then one other thing by the IRS real quick, talking about deadlines. So June 17th deadline is the deadline for the second quarter estimated tax payments like we talked about. But it's also the deadline to file taxes for those that are living and working abroad. And this can include military that are deployed. So if you're deployed overseas, it goes through who qualifies for the June 17th extension. If you're living outside the U.S. and Puerto Rico, and your main place of business or post of duty is outside the U.S. or Puerto Rico, then you get that automatic 2-month extension. You have to attach a statement to your tax return explaining why you qualify. But again, be aware of this. If you are living outside the U.S., get your tax returns done. Avoid, the nastiest penalty is failure to file timely. If you need to file an extension, file an extension. And you can just do that by the deadline. And again, Form 4868, pretty easy to do. So just want to touch on that quickly before we move on to our main topic. Now, I'm just going to talk at you for a little bit when it comes to budgeting. There are so many different reasons to budget. And dealing with the IRS, dealing with people's ability to handle their taxes, budgeting is really what the IRS forces people to do when they do a financial statement. It does two things. First of all, it tells the IRS, what does this person qualify for? And there are standards in place that you have to follow. Do I agree with all the standards? Absolutely not. Do I think the IRS has used and abused some of the standards? Absolutely. And it's really a tragedy that some of the direction the IRS is going as far as not allowing for real inflation that's hurting Americans in the economy today. When I tell people what the IRS actually allows for housing, for rent, mortgage, utilities, it shocks most people. The average person is spending $500 to $1,000 more than what the IRS is allowing because housing prices and costs keep going up and up. And the IRS is, this last couple months ago, last month, they actually lowered a lot of the allowables as if inflation isn't happening, that where prices are going down. It's like bizarro world. Anyway, sore topic for me. But it makes it even more important that people know where your money's going. That you can keep track and get a control of your financial situation. So you can take advantage of tax breaks. So you can take advantage of giving money to charities and helping people out. One of the things I've talked about here in Arizona, they have the Arizona tax credit. You can go and donate money to a school, your favorite cause, and it gives you a dollar for dollar credit. And there's plenty of amazing organizations. Junior Achievement is one I've supported in the past, and my company still supports it. Where we provide financial literacy through K through 12. There's plenty of shelters out there. The list is very long in what you can provide a tax credit for. And there's plenty of other tax credits out there that instead of just giving your money to the government, you can give it to worthy causes where it directly helps those most in need. And as much as it sounds good to have government programs and etc., study after study shows that the most effective ways to help people in need isn't the government, it's through targeted charity work. And getting involved in your community, getting involved in seeing what the needs out there truly are. It comes home to me. But you can't do that if you're overspending, if you don't have a handle on your budget. And I think that's a typical American. There's plenty of people that don't do that, that do have a handle on their budget, but it's typical that the average American doesn't. So when I sit down and I talk to people and I ask, how much is this? How much is that? How much are you spending here and there? A lot of people that might have an idea, but they don't know. And I can't tell you how many times we get to their numbers and they say, where's this extra $1,000? This is your income. This is the expenses you're giving me. Where's this extra money? I spoke to someone yesterday who they weren't paying any taxes and have a business. So because they haven't been paying any taxes, they're talking about setting up an installment agreement, or they were on an installment agreement for part of their taxes and they owed more. And of course, it's going to default their installment agreement that they have. And so they're saying, okay, well, we need to set up a payment plan. It's like, no, you don't. What you need to do first and foremost is stop the damage. Make sure that you're not going to owe moving forward. That should be your number one priority when dealing with tax issues. So again, it's pay your taxes first. And if you're not sure how much, that's why budgeting is so important. If you have a business, keeping track of and running a profit and loss really is just a budget for your business. Now, ideally, you're operating a budget in a forward-thinking manner. But if you can just start and have an idea of, okay, this is where my money has gone, now I can make some changes moving forward. Pardon me. Um, it can help you in many ways to plan for the future, lay out your financial goals, what's most important, and cut where you can so that you can make these important decisions moving forward. Now, I'm going to share this article from Investopedia talking about what are the 5 different purposes of budget. How can a budget help you? Um, we do have just a few minutes till our next break, so I'll start this and then we'll have to just continue on with this. But again, this is a very important topic, and I've seen so many people improve their financial situation, improve their standard of living, really, by following a budget. So I love this. Future first, money lessons for teens. This is all the stuff that we didn't learn in high school, that nobody ever talked about. Investing, etc. Planning for the future. And there are people that understand this. But we're gonna go through these and kind of flesh these out. Why is budgeting so important? And I'm going to add a lot more to what they have here. So key takeaways here. It's a spending plan, or it should be a spending plan where you look into the future and say, these are our goals. How do we get there? And you kind of build backwards from there. And so this could be vacations. It should be investing in your future. It should, okay, where do we want to be and what sacrifices are we willing to make to get there? And it's through either making sacrifices or changing habits that can help you reach your financial goals and be a much better situation long term. As a tax attorney, my biggest goal is to stop the bleeding and get people right with the IRS. Long term, though, this is where we try to refer people long term to financial coaches, to CPAs that will help them, pardon me, get on track and stay on track for their financial well being. So it helps keep your spending in check, make sure you know that your savings are on track for the future, that you're prepared for what might come. And then helps you set long-term financial goals, keep you and shut overspending and avoid risky spending habits. One of the biggest spending habits that's popped up, and it's actually been in the news, I've kind of avoided talking about it. I don't feel a lot of sympathy for a lot of these gaming apps. People want to gamble, that's their choice, sure. But it just blows me away how they have to put in, if you're addicted to gambling, blah, 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 here's we're funding this to help people, but also they're making millions and millions of dollars off of people, and they're doing their best to, get them addicted to gambling, get them started. And, all these sports books companies that are coming out, now they're getting taxed. And again, I have a hard time feeling sympathetic for them. So again, having a long-term goal is something every family should have. Where do you want to be? How do you want to support them? For my kids, I've had them start working to save. Some of them they all save to go on missions, for college, to purchase a car, to really land on their feet and start improving their financial situation long term. Now, we are running out of time, and I'm gonna pause this and come back right after the break. Welcome back, everybody, and thank you for continuing to watch here at Taxes Made Easy. One of the big things it's going to focus on first is keeping you from overspending. And I'm going to make this a little bit larger, a little bit easier to see. Credit card spending. It's one of the biggest problems here. It talks about before plastic or credit cards, people had a pretty good idea. When my dad passed away, we went and again, he didn't share as much information as you would want him to share with. Him and my mom didn't share checking accounts. They managed their separate checking accounts. But man, did he have that checkbook down to the penny, and could have made much better financial decisions. But he knew where his money was. Today, most people don't. They use credit cards. They just rely on the bank saving them when they overspend on their checking account, and that all comes with fees and expenses. So credit cards and the debt that comes with them is really hurting a lot of people today. It's more expensive than ever now that interest rates have gone up. So there are plenty of debt reduction plans. You don't have to go and pay a ton of money for someone to do a debt consolidation. There are plenty of financial advisors that can help set up a way to get out of debt and stay out of debt. And once the key is just stop using the credit cards. If you do use them, pay them off every single month religiously. You don't extend that out. You don't buy yourself time by using credit card debt in ways that don't make sense. And then by budgeting. And so I just want to touch on this overspending. I've had more than one time where someone didn't know where their money was going, didn't know what was happening. When we had put them on a budget and then came back and revisited it, they realized where their spending was going. To toys, RVs, quads, dirt bikes, or sometimes to clothes, sometimes to eating out. These are all things that can really cost a lot of money very quickly. And unfortunately, people spend sometimes a quarter of their income or thousands of dollars a month are flowing to these habits rather than building for your financial future. So I was speaking with an enrolled agent yesterday. He said, look, if you're not investing the maximum in your 401ks, like, you don't understand how money works, and I really don't want to talk to you. And he was just talking about the kind of clients that he wanted, people that were serious about saving for their future, serious about using the tools available to you. And this is really the difference between people that struggle long-term financially and those that don't. So even if you have a lower income, if you can carve out some money to put away every month for savings, to create an emergency savings account, etc., that's great. That's what you should be focused on. However, I'm building some kind of nest egg, saving up to purchase a home, saving up to improve your financial situation down the road. It gets harder and harder, though, in our current situation where you have high inflation, higher costs, and that's what hurts people. So that's the thing. When you have government overspending, when you have the Fed throwing out money like crazy, it hurts people on the back end. And who does inflation hurt the most? The poorest. So you want to talk about a fair economy. You want to talk about doing what's fair for people. The government hurts people more than anybody else. Crazy fiscal policy, when the government doesn't have their financial house in order, it hurts everybody in the economy, but the people least able to absorb it, least able to build up savings when costs are going up and up, are the poorest in society. So if you want to know what to do financially, do the opposite of what the federal government is doing in most cases. So again, if you have a 401k matching plan, etc., There's plenty of other ways to save. There's more investments that you can make, and then preparing for emergencies. So building that emergency fund long term. If you get laid off, if you have a costly home repair, you become sick or injured, going through a divorce that destroys financials, or there's a death in the family. Life happens, and having that emergency fund, having a savings built up, can make all the difference in those situations. Too often people will put it on a credit card, and over time it can cost them twice as much to pay off those balances. I mean, it's kind of scary today when you go into Walmart, and I guess other stores are doing this too. If you don't have the money, you can just put it on an account, and they charge you interest. So everyday items at Walmart, and why does Walmart do this? One, they don't have to process payments. They don't have to deal with cash. It is easy. I know when I was in law school 20 years ago, I worked at Sears in between graduating from my undergrad school and going to law school. They pushed their credit cards like nothing else, the Sears credit card. And they would have deals and this and that. But they made so much money off of people just using their credit card rather than just paying it up front. And again, it's best for the companies, worse for the consumers. And they're talking about building up 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses. And this should be all done and put into your budget. So, and this is where it really dives into some of the best ways it help you prepare for emergency, get that emergency fund started. Dave Ramsey advocates do $1,000. Just start. And then once you hit $1,000, then because most people in America don't have $1,000 saved up. It's a scary statistic, but it's very true, very real. It's out there. And then you start saving for other goals, and you continue building that emergency fund, but then you can pay off credit card debt. You can use the money to get rid of other issues as well. And it will take time and over time, build up that 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses, but that's money that you can access quickly, money that you can get out fairly quickly, and you shouldn't just have that sitting in a savings account. You should have that in something that you can access easily, but I would at least put it into a money market account or something where you can still access it quickly, but it's a little bit out of reach, and you just forget about it. You just put the money, forget about it, and when you need it, when it's truly emergency, it can help. So I was talking about this, reveal spending habits. What is costing you so much money? Cable TV subscriptions, pets, eating out. I mean, unfortunately, pets are very important to people, and I get that. And I talk to some people that have 10 pets. That's a little overkill. They still love their pets. They're still an important part of their life, but that is a choice. And buying dog food or taking them to vet, that can eat up someone's budget very quickly. So, and if that's how you want to live your life, that's fine. Just understand what that's doing to your overall budget and your ability to prepare for your future. Kids are expensive on that. Eating out, going to the movies. There's all kinds of things that are very expensive, and things that we used to. My wife and I, we used to go out to the movies a lot more often than we do now. But you go to the movie, you sit down, you get some popcorn and a soda, whatever. It's $40-$50. It's the cost of doing these things has gone up dramatically. If you want financial stability, budget. Again, it's easy to pay bills on time. Not only having that a major emergency fund, but you can plan for the future, such as purchasing a home, purchasing a car, and not having car payments. So there's times it makes sense in the short term to get a car payment when working with the IRS, but long term, the best thing to do is have a car that's paid for. and it helps so much. I mean, this article continues going on, talking about an emergency fund, key reasons to have a budget. Um, it puts you in charge of your finances, not the other way around. So I want to read this last paragraph. Bottom line, a budget is simply a spending plan that takes into account expected income and expenses, but where you make the decisions about where your money is going to go to rather than the other way around. It can bring you closer to financial security, keep your spending in check, and then also ensure that your savings for emergency and longer term goals, such as a comfortable retirement, stay consistent. One of the things a lot of people aren't doing, I spoke to someone the other day, said she hasn't been able to take a vacation in 7 years. There are plenty of affordable vacations out there, and people do need a break. They do need to get away, and people should be able to enjoy life a little bit. But if you save for it, it could be $50 a month, and go and do something every now and then where you can enjoy life. You can feel like, and vacations, vary like crazy. Maybe you do a staycation if you really don't want to get out. Maybe you go visit some family. I mean, that you don't have to spend, go to Europe and travel and spend $10,000, $20,000 to go on a vacation. So there are plenty of companies out there that will help you budget. Just a couple of them, Dave Ramsey, etc. And this all goes for businesses as well. If you have a small business, staying on top of your budgeting, your profit and loss statement will help you plan for your business, help you set goals, and it will help set you up for long-term financial success. So this is not what we do as a company, as a tax attorney, but the people that do this, and we absolutely encourage people that do this, and to stay on top of your estimated tax payments coming up, it's getting more and more important to do exactly this. Learn good financial habits, and this is how people get wealthy. To stay wealthy, they'll have a budget, they'll follow it, but then you see sometimes the super wealthy that just blow money like crazy because they have too much. But again, that's a completely different argument. Our goal is to help the average American and help them get to a place where they can feel at ease. And when you're not stressed financially, it's so much easier to stay on top of your taxes. If there is an issue, to deal with it, and help you avoid problems moving forward. It's always best not to owe. And if you can take advantage, beware of, hey, invest in Puerto Rico and then move there and save a ton of money. But there are programs, if you want to move to Puerto Rico, you can do something like that. There are opportunities out there, and not just moving to Puerto Rico, but investing in your future, investing in your community can save you in taxes, and better tax planning can help all around for your financial future, for you and your family and your business. And that's our goal really here at our Guardian Tax Law, is to help people figure out their tax situation, figure out their finances, and be more prosperous. Because when any of us are more prosperous, and we're living a life of abundance where we are comfortable where we are, that only builds and helps the community at large. You don't have to be out spending money to help the economy. Saving money helps the economy just as much. And again, if you have questions, reach out to us, 520-485-7371. If you don't know where to get started, you can go online. We can refer financial coaches and advisors to you. There's people that do this for a living, help people get on a budget, manage a budget, and improve their finances moving forward. And it's a great help to people. We love seeing that kind of success. And so again, this is I think an important message. Not straight taxes, but budgeting is exactly what you have to do when you start talking to the IRS, or in many cases, most cases, I would say. But having been ahead of that and already having your numbers together, knowing where your money goes, is a great way for long-term success. So again, if you have any questions, give us a call or look at 520-485-7371. Or you can always go to our website at guardiantaxlaw.com, and there's a link directly to see this and other shows. So have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.